All right, so welcome to MMRT 168. On um, by the way, Daryl, have you ever worked? Have you ever done any programming?
No.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I mean, we'll do everything from scratch. So in this course, we are going to learn, how to build games using programming, mainly JavaScript. HTML. So, we can build games like uh, oh, if you want to go build like a complex game like Snake Game or uh, not too complex games like Rock Paper Scissors, things like that, right? So there opportunities are there to build whatever you want to build. Um, and so um, first part of the course would be learning about the fundamentals. And then the second part is actually building the games. Um, so in terms of, I'll record every session and upload it on the uh, Canvas. And then what we'll do is there'll be homework also assignment also, which usually you can. I usually give like a 2 weeks, so you can finish it. They're pretty not too complex assignment, so you should be able to do that. And then there will be a final project, which will be due at the end of the uh, class, which is the last day of the class. So, for example, you can think about any game that you want to build, um, and we can discuss it later on. The options. Build that game and then present. Okay. Any questions?
Um, could you speak closer to the mic? You cut off every now and then.
Sure, sure. Maybe it's a connection. I don't know. Um, yeah. So, yeah. Any questions?
None so far.
Okay, good, good. All right. So, in that case, let's get started. Um, so one of the first thing we're gonna learn is fundamental of programming in JavaScript, right? So let me share. All right. Do you see my screen?
Mhm.
Oh, I think I haven't shared it yet. All right. I'm gonna paste this link, which is called codepan.io chat. All right. You can open this. By the way, Daryl, what is your major? What are you trying to get out of this class?
Um, I made my intended major is interaction and game design.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this aligns with your major. Okay, good. Okay. So if you can open this link. codepen.io.
Hmm.
All right, what you see is this. I'm gonna mute you for a minute because I think there's some noise coming out of, and you can unmute yourself whenever you need to talk. Um, okay, so what you see here is whenever you want to build a game, right? There are three parts to it. There's a these are going to be like a web-based game, which means you can build in your browser. You can open as a URL, you can open in your browser. Now, typically when you build something like this, what you do is you would have your environment set up on your computer, like just like any website that you build. To build a website, then you need to upload it and things like that to the server. But in this case, we are going to use some sort of environment, like a playground, web playground, which is this website, codepen.io. And what it does is allows you to build games without having to do all these complex environment setup. I mean, you can do it if you want to build something once this class is over. I can show you how to do that. But this is pretty cool because this environment lets you do everything from one place. Okay, which is pretty nice. Um, so you can write your like HTML, you can write your CSS, and HTML is basically your web page, right? CSS is your styling, which means, all the colors and margins and paddings and all this stuff that you see, it's coming from CSS. And JavaScript is a programming language, and then this programming language is designed for the web. So anything that you see dynamic, uh, for example, if you go to I don't know, Instagram, right? For example, if you scroll, um, that action is done through, you know, some sort of script like JavaScript. Okay. So that's where the dynamic part, it makes things dynamic. If you build, let's say, snake game, right? The snake is moving around. That's that's done using JavaScript. So you have your page, which is a view. You have your styles, which is your colors and things like that. And then you have your dynamic part, which is your JavaScript. All right. Um, okay, so I'm just going to show you how it works, but we're going to then focus on JavaScript only. So let's say if I want to build some element, right? So what I usually do is I would, in the HTML, can say hello world. Okay. When I do that, at the bottom here, you would see this hello world is showing up. Okay. So this is how the HTML part works. Let's say if I want to color this thing red, then I can say whenever you see a div, uh, color should be red, right? So you can see the color is now red. Um, so this is how this works, right? But again, we'll come back to HTML and CSS later on, but let's first focus on the JavaScript part, which is the most important part. All right. Okay, so what you can do is just drag these things around like this, and then expand the JavaScript all the way and hide the HTML and CSS. Let me know if you are having any difficulties. And then at the bottom, you'll see this console, assets and keys, right? So you click on the console and then expand, and then this console will show up, and then you can expand it up like this. Okay. So this white area would go away and the gray area would show up. And that's what we want. All right. So far, so good.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So, okay, the next thing we're going to learn is some programming fundamental. Since you're new to programming, I think we can start from very basic. So basic thing would be like printing a simple message on the screen. Now, in this case, the screen is console. Okay. So anything that you write, you can just print it. And that's how it's going to work. So if you want to print something on a console, this area, you would say console.log, and then you have a parenthesis. And what you do is, and then semicolon. Between the parentheses, you can just write whatever. So let's say if I, and you put quotes around it. So let's say if I write hello world, okay, you can see it actually printed here. And it's really interesting because as I'm typing, it's printing it. So it is actually automatically finding my changes and printing it automatically. Maybe that's not the right behavior. Sometimes you want because you want you want the full control over it. And if you want such control, what you can do is you can go to settings. So you see this button called settings. Um, if you click on it, this panel shows up, and then there's this behavior. So click on that. And then the middle section is called auto updating preview. So disable that. So turn it off. Okay. And then you have to save it at the end here. So I'll just say save and close. So what happened now, this run button would show up. So now whenever you want to run something, you press it. So we're just typing, it doesn't show things here. Okay. And you can also clean things. Like if you click on clear, it clean things. All right. Any questions?
None so far.
All right. So yeah, you can practice this. Let's say if I want to have like a multiple lines in here, I can do comma and then something else. Make sure you type with me so that, programming is all about practicing. So if it's very important that you type your code, just reading, you won't be able to learn that much.
Okay.
Again, now you click on again, run, and you would see that message is showing up. Now it's showing in two parts, right? In the same line. If you wanted to have like same line, you can do it like this. And if you want to have like a two consecutive lines, then you can do it like this. You can type first message, then copy the same thing, and then okay. And if you run it now, well, let me clear it first. You can see it's showing up in two lines. Always clear it so that um, it's keep it doesn't clutter your space. So always clear it. So this is the fundamental of how to print something on the console. Um, all right. Now let's look at the. Now this is something we printed in a console, right? But what you can do also is you can you can save this string in a variable. So for example, variable is something, instead of having a fixed string, you can have a variable. Variable means something that can change, right? So you can create a variable and then print that variable. It's the same thing, right? So let's say if I want to create a string, so I'm going to say let str equal to hello world. Okay. So this is um, a variable. A variable has three parts. One is a keyword called let. So when you put let in front of something, it becomes a variable, right? And then equal to is an assignment. So you're saying that I'm creating this variable and I'm setting a value to hello world. Okay. So what happens is in essence, a string has this value now, which is hello world. And so instead of console logging hello world, I can do console log string. And then when I run this, um, it will do the same thing, right? So now string has hello world. It's almost like you have a locker and you put something and you have a key, right? So whenever I say, oh, go get this value from this locker, then like string is the key. So in a computer, you have a memory, right? And so what JavaScript does, it takes this string called hello world and stores it in some memory, and is the key is stored in this string variable. And then whenever you call the console log string, it'd say, okay, where is this located? And it would go and find it and then print it, right? So that's how it works. Um, okay, so let's try this out.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, cool. Now this is a string, which means you want to say a sentence or a word, anything related to language, you would use string, right? Uh, but there are times when you want to use numbers for calculation, so you cannot use strings for that. So you need a different data types. So this is called a string data type. Okay, data types are kind of a specific way to store variable. So JavaScript knows that this is a number, this is a string, right? For example, if you want to add two numbers, it knows that the number, so then it does it that way, right? Compared to if you say, oh, add this to string, then it doesn't know what to do, right? So there are types in JavaScript uh, that you can use. Um, and the very first type is, I think we already looked at this, is string. And again, if I just want to not execute anything and I want to just put some explanation, so I can tell JavaScript that don't execute, this is my comment. Okay. So you can add a comment by just putting two slashes. This is almost like ignore this. Okay. I'm going to write something, ignore this. So here I'm going to write, um, string type. So string type is, as we know, hello is a string type. Okay. Now I'm going to also write number type. So what is a number type? 23 is a number type. I can say 1.2 is a number type. Uh, 0 is a number type. -1 is a number type, right? So these are all numbers. And you can see that there are no quotes around it compared to string where you have quotes, right? So if you want to define a number, don't put quotes around it. Because you could write a string like this too. So this is not a number. This is still a string. Okay, so that's the difference between that and this. Another type, which is very interesting, is called Boolean. Boolean type is in your coding, you have to make decisions, right? Uh, whether you want to show something or not show something. And for that, you need a special type called Boolean. And it's only two values, uh, yes or no, right? Sorry, which means true or false. Okay. So it has only two values, true or false. And you can see that it doesn't have quotes around it, which means, um, you know, it is a Boolean. If I do this, it's a string. Okay. So these are the three types: string, number and a Boolean. Strings have quotes. Numbers are numerical value without quotes, and then Booleans have true and false values. All right. So let's define three variables and we can print it. So first variable I'm gonna do is, let's say items equal to 3. How many items do you have? Right? So this is a number. We already looked at the string. Message is a string. Okay. I love cake. That's a string, right? And a Boolean would be is raining. Is it true or false? So right now it's false because it's not raining. Okay. And again, you can print them all in a one line or separate line, doesn't matter. You can do console.log. I can do items, message, and is raining. And if I clear it and run this, it would print all three values. All right. Um, any questions? Let's try this out. Yeah, I'll give you a few minutes to type it and, play around with it. So, like, for example, if you want to define your game, right, um, you would say, you know, uh, how many number of players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, or is it started? Is the game started or not? Or is it running? Is it running? Equal to false if it has ended, right? And then message would be something like, do you want to play again? That would be the message, right?
All right.
So this is how it works. All right. So the next thing we're going to learn is um, operators. Okay. Operators are these specific uh, values that use to, you know, do operations. For example, you know, if you want to add two numbers, you have a what they call arithmetic operator, which allows you to add two numbers. Okay. So, so let's say I create a number one. So I'm going to call it n1 equal to 1. Okay. And then I'm going to have a n2 equal to 2. All right. So I have two numbers. And if I want to total, I'm going to create another number called total. But instead of giving it a value, I'm just going to say total is equal to n1 plus n2. Okay. So here, total basically takes the value of n1 and value of n2 and adds them together. So if I console log this, um, and run this, I would get 3 here, right? Let's try this out. So plus is an operator. Equal is an assignment operator. You're setting with the value, right? So it's an assignment operator. Plus is an arithmetic operator because you're adding the values, right?
Yeah, got it.
All right. So there are other operators. For example, let's say you want to subtract it, then you use minus, just like how you use in a math, right? So this
Hmm.
would basically subtract 1 from 2, oh, 2 from 1, basically. So this would be -1, right?
All
Uh,
right.
Um, you can also divide. So if I do slash, forward slash, it would be 1 divided by 2, so 0.5. Okay. And then multiply would be, uh, we're not going to use x because x is a character, so it doesn't know what to do. So instead, we would use this asterisk. And when I do that, it would 1 multiplied by 2, that would be 2, right?
All right.
So these are arithmetic operators. So I'm going to type it here on the top here. Uh, arithmetic operators. So you have plus, then you have a minus, then you have multiplication and division. All right. Um, so there's also, I think there's also one more operator, which is called, if you want to find a remainder of something, right? If you divide, let's say, 3 by 2, then the answer will be 1.2, 1.5, right? But um, if you want to get the remainder, then that would be 1, right? So if I run this, it would give me 1. But if I do 6 divided by 2, there won't be any remainder because it's an even number, right? So,
Could you repeat what that is between N1 and N2? I was busy trying to write
oh,
the
this is a percent.
arithmetic.
Yeah, this is a remainder. Uh, so let's say if I divide, I'll give you an example. So if I divide 3 by 2, right? So if I divide 3 by 2, I'll get 1.5, right? But if I don't want, remainder, it would be then, 2 divided by 2 plus 1, right? Do you know the concept of remainder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives you the remainder back. So if I have, let's say, 5 divided by 2, right? Then this would be, think about it this way. It's 2 multiplied by 2 plus 1, right?
All
5
right.
is basically 2 divided by 2, 2 multiplied by 2 plus 1. So if I divide this by 2, this would go away, right? But this would remain like that. So yeah, it gives you a remainder. Okay.
Okay.
Um, And then there are other operators. We'll look at it when we go, but this is the main operator. Another operator is called comparison operator, which is pretty important. Oh, comparison operator. Comparison operator basically compares two values to see if they're equal or not. That's it. That's it. Okay. So let's say if I have 2 and 3 and 3, and I want to know if they are equal. Okay. So what I would do is I would say, and I would just say a different is equal. And then I would put 3 equal signs. It's kind of weird, but basically it checks the right and the left value. And if they are same, then it returns true. And if it's different, if they're different, then it would return false. So remember the Boolean type we looked at? It will
Hmm.
do that. So in this case, if I print it, it says true, right? But let's say if I change this to 3 and 2, it would be false. All right,
All right.
cool. Um, so so this is called a comparison operator, which is 3 equal signs. Okay. So single equal sign is an assignment operator. You set something, and 3 equal sign is a comparison operator. Um, what else? There are operators like plus e, you know, so the total, it's kind of weird operator, but let's just go over it. So imagine you want to say total equal to n plus plus n2, right? And so this gives you 5, right? But you can do it um, like this. Uh, total um, let's say if I want to do, okay, and not like this, sorry, my bad. Let's say I have a number, well, let's just start with it. Let's say I have a number n equal to, let's say 5, okay? And I want to add 5 to it to make it 10, right? So one way to do this is I can say n equal to n plus 5. Again, if I again set a value of n, I am not using let. Let you only use once when you initialize a variable. After that, you don't use let.
Okay.
So I can change n as many as time, like I can say n equal to 7 or n equal to 123, whatever, right? Uh, but as you can see, I'm not using the let again. Okay. So the same here. I'm just setting a new value to it. First time when you define it, you have to use let, but after that, you don't have to use it. But in this case, what's happening is I'm saying n equal to n plus 5, which means the old value of n was 5, and I'm adding 5 more to it. So it's going to be 10. So if I console log n, it would be 10. Okay. But there's a shorter syntax to it. It's kind of weird, but let's look at it. So I can simply do this. N plus equal to 5, let's set n equal to 10. Again, I think once you get advanced, you can use this. If I do 2, this would be 5 plus 2, so 7. Okay. All right. So these are so we learned about the arithmetic operator, comparison operator. This would also fall in the arithmetic operator era, right? If you don't like this, then I would suggest use this syntax. It's much more meaningful, but sometimes people want to use shorter code, right? Um, so yeah, so these are the operators. Uh, there are other operators. So uh, if you if you use plus sign on a string, this is an interesting one. So let's say if I have a string one equal to um, hello, and then I have a string two equal to uh, world. So if I want to do uh, you know, add this together, because they are not numbers, you cannot really add. But what it does, it creates another string by concatenating them together, right? So string one plus string two will make it hello world, right? The only problem is there's no space here. So what you can do is also have another string called space and then have an extra space here, right? And then I would do string one plus space plus string two. And that would give me hello space world, right? So
Mhm.
basically it puts them together. Let's try this out.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's that's that. The only thing is this is an interesting one. What if you have two numbers, right? One, they're not numbers, but they're actually strings. So because as you can see that they have quotes around it, so it's um, they're not numbers, right? But if I add them and see what prints, it gives me 12. It doesn't give me three. So if you use number as string, it always just puts them together. It doesn't really add them like numbers. So just be careful. Um, you know, if you have to number as string, it will create a problem like this. Okay.
All right.
Um, okay. So these are operators. Um, I think let's stop here. Because it's the first day, I don't want to overwhelm, and maybe some people might show up next time. Um, but any questions so far?
Yeah, you know how when you write like hello in quotations,
Uh-huh.
is there a way when you hit enter that the quotation on the right doesn't fall down? Do you just click to the side, or is there like a hot command for it?
Okay, so when I do this, right, string equal to quote hello. Oh,
Yeah,
I
then you press
yeah,
enter.
I usually do like a space and then enter.
Okay.
Or another way to do this is this. You just type hello and then you hover over it and then you shift do this but it depends how you want it. Yeah, I always do this. I put quote. So instead of this, yeah, you put quote hello and then space And then so instead of entering, I always do, one more space and then enter.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise the double quote. And you can use double or single quote, doesn't matter. Uh, it's allowed, yeah. But if you use opening single quote, then you have to use the closing single quote. You cannot mix and match. You cannot do like this. Yeah. You have to have a both single quote or both double quotes.
Got it.
All right. So um uh okay. So next week we're gonna do a couple of things. We're gonna learn about type conversions. So for example, uh, let's say you want to convert string to number two, you can do that, right? So there are some conversion rules that we're gonna, because you might need it later on. And then the second thing we're gonna learn is string methods. So let's say you're given some string, then you want to find the length of the string, or you want to replace something inside a string. You want to find something inside a string. You can do a lot of things with that. So we're going to learn about the string methods. Okay.
Okay.
A practice a little bit this. I'm going to provide some information in the canvas, so you can go over it, and then yeah. And if you have a quick question, uh, you can ask on a Discord. I saw you already registered with them. But if you have, like some official question, just ask on Canvas.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Dale. I'll see you next Wednesday then.
Yeah. See you next week.
All right, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.